Welcome, welcome, and thank you for tuning in to SM Enlightenment Radio or TV, or listening to the Two Healthy Chicks podcast. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ayana.
And we are two healthy chicks providing simple life hacks on this journey to healthy living. Ayana, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good. I thought that, I had a fabulous face here. I was going for like the bronzed look, and clearly I did not put on the right makeup for my lighting. So it is what it is tonight, and I'm
You
okay with that.
still look gorgeous. It's okay.
Well,
And good news, all people listening in podcast land cannot see us. So
that
there
is
you
very
go.
true. You couldn't tell if you wanted to. So there's that.
And if they really want to know, they'll have to hop on over to the YouTube channel and check us out.
Definitely. And then we'll really have them hooked.
Yes. So what's in your mug tonight?
Oh, well, first of all,
Yes.
are we
Cheers.
official?
Yes.
Okay, so now you really have to go to YouTube because you got to see what we're showing.
Yes.
But we are official.
Mhm.
If you thought we were official last season, no, we're here to tell you differently. In my mug, Jenny, I have Clean Tox Detox Tea. Believe it or not, it's been like a week since I've had one, which is very unlike me. But I also added, you're going to really judge me, but I added a fizz. Which one? Oh, man.
I thought you were going to say wine or something.
That's after the show, Jenny.
Oh, okay.
I added spiced punch. Yes. So
You're planning on staying up late tonight, huh?
Absolutely not. It's going to be intercom right after this. So
there you go. Awesome. Well, I already had my intercom, so there you go. I'm like, this is my down, right?
Yeah, seriously. You did intercom before the show?
I know, crazy, right? I maybe we have to take some more afterwards. I'm definitely not calm at the moment.
No, I can't tell. Not at all.
Not at all. No. Nope. Well, I've got
in your mug.
What's that?
No,
it's not. No. I have detox tea as well, and I mixed it with I forget what flavor this is. It was one of the holiday lines. It's like a berry flavor, like a cranberry. I think that's what it is. I think it's cranberry. It's delicious. It's really lovely.
We're winning tonight. We can't even remember what's in our mug. So there's that.
Yeah.
So we'll just move on to our topic. Our topic of the evening. I'm very excited about this one because I feel like we've been talking about this for at least the last year in some way, shape, or form. Tonight, we are highlighting gut health.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about why is gut health so important.
We're going to talk about the concerns of the stomach.
Diet as it relates to gut health.
And tips and tricks for optimizing gut health.
And I think I may be even more, actually, I know I am more excited because of our guest. So LAINI Gray is a healthy living enthusiast and a functional diagnostic health practitioner. You'll start to hear this more and more. So what exactly does that mean? It means she is a health detective. She looks for hidden clues in things like conversations, questionnaires, food logs, lifestyle habits, movement patterns, functional lab tests. So it's very intriguing. And she does all of this to get to the bottom of clients' health complaints. And with this information, she uncovers opportunities for healing and creates personalized recommendations to repair, rebuild, and restore health and well-being. Please welcome my friend, LAINI Gray.
Yay!
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here on the Two Healthy Chicks show.
Yes,
so So LAINI and I actually probably talk at least 5 times a day in some way, shape, or form, because we're part of that manifestation room that I tell you about in the mornings where you just lay it out there and you speak, you're proud, you're grateful, your desires. So I'm so happy to actually have her on the show. She had me on her IG Live. So very, very excited. Pause. Let's dive into why is gut health so important, LAINI?
Well, that's a big can of worms, right? I think what's really interesting about gut health and digestion is that we take it for granted. We take for granted that we eat our food and it turns into nutrients and it keeps us alive. But in reality, it's a really important process. And how we digest our food actually correlates to how we literally digest our life. right?
Yeah.
How we break things down, how we absorb things, how we grow, how we nourish ourselves. And so that's what's so fascinating. And as I've been a personal trainer and a health coach, and when I went to get my master's degree in holistic nutrition, I started studying gut health, and I was blown away that literally every single health condition could somehow be tied back to something going wrong in digestion in the gut. So it is like intricately woven into every part of our overall health.
So
yeah, and just to hear you talk about that, you know, it makes me think about hearing more and more how little nutrition is a part of the medical, you know, licensing. But I guess that's a whole nother episode, but that's just that's the thought that triggered.
Yes.
We could talk on that for hours. It's true. I feel like in school we should have learned more about how to fix our car. And right, how to take care of our own car, and maybe how to actually take care of our gut health and how to eat food to keep our body healthy, not just functioning, right? And so that's what's really exciting. And so some of the things that people don't know about the gut is that we take for granted that we're going to absorb our nutrients from the gut. But did you know that our neurotransmitters, like the hormones that make us feel good, like serotonin, that's produced in the gut lining? So if your gut's not functioning well, you're gonna be not happy. Your mood is gonna be affected. Like, a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of mental health conditions stem from gut dysfunction. How crazy is that, right? That's a big deal.
It is. And you know, it makes perfect sense because, you know, you even see commercials that talk about gut health and whether or not you're feeling constipated or any kind of gut issue, and the cartoon character always has like this grumpy, cranky looking face. And you know, you like putting it together. Yes, anytime I have a stomach ache, I'm not the happiest person or the most, you know, joyful person to be around. But I never realized that it was literally in the lining of the stomach. That makes perfect sense.
Right. I mean, it's even, I mean, the foods we eat have an impact on how we feel, but literally what's happening in the gut lining, that's where we produce those neurotransmitters. The other piece that I don't think many people realize is that our immune system, like 70% of our immune system, is housed in the intestinal lining. So when we're talking about disease and catching a cold and the flu and all of these ways to combat, you know, illness, it comes back to our gut. We really need to be nourishing our gut so that we have a strong immune system that can ward off pathogens and viruses and bacteria so that we can remain healthy and be resilient, you know?
Yeah, I have learned more and more again over the past year, especially, you know, digging deeper for Aaliyah and Jenny. I know you can definitely speak to this. You've had way more experience with it, but it's pretty fresh to me. And I know, like I said, Jenny, I know you have a deeper experience with that.
Well, and I think it's so interesting too, because you mentioned about the commercials and things. And I remember many years ago, like, I mean, I've struggled with digestive issues my whole life. And I remember seeing all these commercials for fiber and Metamucil and like all these things on, you know, commercials on TV. And it's like, why are there so many commercials for this? And like, it's a thing. Americans have issues with their gut, with their digestive health. And it's so fascinating too.
I wonder why.
I know, right? And it's fascinating too. And I don't know if it's just because of, no, it's not just because of my awareness of it, but lately, but there has been more and more research on the gut and understanding of it more. And I know, like, not too far from us, there's a whole digestive health center that just sprang up and got, you know, so there's more of those things. And I guess because of the research, or maybe more of the understanding that the power, like you were saying, LAINI, that gut health has on our overall health. It's amazing.
Yeah. Going back to when I was in school, that's what it came time to write my master's thesis, right? And my professor was like, "What do you want to talk about?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Well, how did you get into health and wellness?" I'm like, "Well, it was about, you know, aesthetics, to be quite honest. I was in the gym setting, and it was how do people manage weight and things like that." And so I wrote my master's thesis on the gut microbiome. And this was before it like blew up on the scene. She's like, "I promise you, LAINI, you do this research." And it was fascinating to learn about the gut microbiome and these bacteria that line our gut and how imperative they are to our overall health, how we manage our weight, how we manufacture vitamins in our system. Like it's phenomenal. And how we eat and the stress we're under and if we're hydrated or not, like that's a really big deal. And just taking more fiber is not necessarily the answer all the time, like you're alluding to, right? Like it's not just that simple. There's so many other pieces.
And that's such a great point too, because that was something that frustrated me when I would go to the doctor. And that's basically the answer. They would say, eat more leafy greens. I'm like, I'm eating leafy greens. Like, I need something more. Like, there's got to be more to this than that.
Well, I have to say, you know, it definitely is a matter of experience and sometimes, unfortunately, a matter of geography, because I can think of a client. Actually, I had this conversation just last week and she's really experiencing acne. And, you know, LAINI, you can probably speak to this many times. Right. Things that happen with the skin are related to the gut, as are many other things. And of course, every physician that she's been to, and again, this is not to bash physicians, like there is a place for modern medicine, but every physician that she's been to, the only resolution was birth control. And I'm like, that's very interesting. You know, would it be a different, I mean, no one mentioned nutrition. I would have been happy if they would have said, hey, eat some leafy greens. Right. Not one of her doctors mentioned nutrition. So, you know, sometimes skin color can absolutely have that effect on what your experience is going to be. Speaking of acne, we can kind of move into the concerns of the stomach, because I know there are a lot of them, and I know one of your favorite topics is in those concerns, LAINI.
Yes. So, well, if we're talking about acne, right? I mean, that really does, when there's damage to the gut lining and when the gut is inflamed, we end up having inflammation in other places throughout the body. So for a lot of people that manifests as acne, that could be headaches, that could be brain fog. I mean, quite literally anything can be triggered from this gut health, right? And so what are some of the things we can do to start that conversation? And so you and I have talked at length, you know, Ayana, about how we start with digestion from the very beginning. The fact that digestion takes place in a stress-less state, in a relaxed state. So instead of being in fight or flight where you're stressed, digestion needs to be in the parasympathetic mode where your body is in the rest and digest phase. So if we're eating on the go and we're stressed when we run and we're not chewing our food thoroughly, right away we set up our digestive system to not function properly, and then that triggers a cascade of events all the way down. So we need to be slowing down to chew our food, right? So that we can actually break down the nutrients so that they don't cause damage to the stomach lining, and then we have all these other symptoms arising. So that's like a very simple start from the beginning. And then where else were we going to talk about? Stomach acid? Was that our next little topic?
Yeah, stomach acid.
So, and
sensitivity.
It's
anywhere
crazy.
You want to go.
Yeah. So when we talk about digestive problems, like Jeannie was just saying, right? Like we are spending so much money on antacids, right? Right. Stomach acid blockers and on laxatives. People are spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to poop and not fart, right? Like it's ridiculous. So like they don't want to fart, they don't want to burp, but they want to poop, and they're taking all this medication. And the reality is our body's designed to work if we use it the right way. So we have stomach acid for a reason. And the more often we chew our food, we produce more stomach acid. Stomach acid is our first line of defense against bacteria and viruses that enter the body with our food or when we're breathing or all those things. And super, super important because it helps us break down and absorb all of our minerals and our protein. So if we don't have enough stomach acid, you can be eating the best diet there is, but you can't absorb the nutrients.
Yeah, I'm chuckling once again because enter an opportunity. I don't mean to throw you under the bus, Sykes, but Pops Tums, like they are mints. And he's not the only one. Actually, my parents do it also. So Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but yes, we're targeting you right now. You know, those are designed to to quell, so to speak, the stomach acid. And that's not how our bodies are designed. And I go back to this book that I just started reading, and it was so interesting that, your different blood type could mean that you have like naturally more stomach acid. And I am one of those blood types. So that it's all very intriguing to me. Very.
Yeah, it really is. There is definitely a genetic component. And I know you've talked about gluten before on the podcast and how there's a genetic component to autoimmunity and all those things. We're all a little bit different, but the system is designed overall the same, right? So if we can master some of those simple skills, like chewing our food and sitting at the table, like that's not rocket science, but that like can dramatically change the way we digest food, absorb nutrients, and how often we poop. Like this is a big deal. Pooping is really important. So yeah, girls, how did you both poop today? I'm serious. I'm serious.
I know. That's why I'm cracking up. You are serious. I'll go first, Jenny. Again, you've got to watch. You've got to watch for the weekend. But I'll let you think about it, Jenny. I am prepared to answer this question because I knew it was coming, because I know you. I am very proud to say I went 3 times today, and they were all normal.
I didn't know we had to give a cataloging. I was not prepared for this.
See, I didn't spoil it for you, lady. I knew it was coming, but I did not spoil it.
I did. I'm happy to go once.
Yes. So when we talk about digestion, like we're all winning. I pooped 3 times today too. Yay. Woo. That's after just having 12 inches of colon removed a couple weeks ago. So that's another story. But we want to bring our food in. We want the digestive system to work well. We want to absorb our nutrients. And then we want the waste, the toxins, literally the crap, to be excreted. And it's designed to come out every single day. Not once or twice a week, not every other day, every single day. And as a guy, does anybody know how much stool you should be moving?
I do not.
Wait, I feel I should know this after so many conversations.
Come on, you 2 healthy chicks.
Okay, I'm going to go with 12 inches.
Ooh, that was a right on guess.
That would be my guess, would be a foot, but that's just a total guess.
12 inches, or if you look down from your wrist to your elbow, is about how much you should be moving. So when someone tells me, can I on his face? I know.
I'm like, actually,
someone says,
that might be more than a foot.
Got some long limbs here.
Yes.
Let's hope, if I'm moving that much, let's hope it's in a couple of sittings.
But people say, oh yeah, I go to the bathroom every day. And I say, well, are you moving 12 inches? And they're like, no. Well, constipation is a really big deal, because if things aren't coming out that are supposed to come out, where are they going?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting around reabsorbing. Now we have increased toxicity. We have hormones being reabsorbed. It's not, and it's not fun. When you don't poop, it is not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. And then you go to the doctor and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to poop.
Likely, and I mean, just based on our society and how much medication we're taking, that is the common side effect, is constipation. You end up in this medical cycle where, like the pharmaceutical cycle, where you're taking something that gives you one side effect, and then you go to take something else. It's a nightmare. And I have experienced that to the point, I'm going to lay myself on the fire here. So it's like, you're not the only person that I like to burn in our episode. When I, just after losing Sonny, and then, planning all of the memorial, like all of that, I remember being at the wake, and I had like this very nice, dress that I thought was ruched, and I was good. And I knew that I was constipated because of the medication. I was just getting out of the hospital myself, and narcotics and all of that foolishness. And I was so constipated. I did not realize that everyone else could tell. People thought that I was actually pregnant. It was not cute.
Yeah.
I mean, I caught myself. I almost said literally. I haven't said it once.
I couldn't do the point.
I felt like I was going to pass out when it finally happened. I mean, I was like sweating. It was a nightmare. So yes, it's no fun. No fun. Constipation is no fun, especially when it gets to that extreme. Most people don't experience it on that level, but any type of constipation is a sign of toxicity.
Yeah. Well, and that was a huge issue that I had. I mean, I just say I had digestive issues, but like, I didn't even know until like way later in my life that you're supposed to go every day. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm like, so this is a really good conversation because, you know, people don't necessarily know that. I mean, yeah.
One of those things we should have learned.
Yeah, but that ties back to the mental health piece too, right? Like when we talk about mental health issues, we're talking about toxicity, right? And not getting enough nutrition. Well, if we're not pooping, we're absorbing a lot of toxins that are getting sent to our brain. And I work a lot with women's hormones, and every woman wants to get their hormones balanced. And the first thing I ask is, are you pooping? Because if they're not, they're reabsorbing those estrogens and going into those high estrogen states where they feel bloated and crying and everything's crazy. And then they're having fertility issues and PMS issues. And it all comes back to, is your digestive system working? Are you bringing the nutrients in, and are you getting rid of the waste on a daily basis?
It's so intriguing. So we will put a pin in it there, and we're going to come back where we'll talk about like the diet as it relates to gut health and actually provide tips and tricks, because, you know, that's what we do. Two healthy chicks, tips and tricks, healthy living, all that good stuff. So we'll give you tips and tricks for optimizing gut health. So yeah, make sure you come back for our next segment. We are Two Healthy Chicks on SME Enlightenment Radio or TV if you're watching. Welcome back, and thanks again for tuning in to SM Enlightenment Radio or TV or the Two Healthy Chicks podcast. I'm Ayana.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Two Healthy Chicks here with our fabulous guest, LAINI Gray. Thank you again for joining us. We are having a really interesting discussion, and maybe too much fun backstage, but you will never know. So we left off with concerns of the stomach, and there were a couple more that we wanted to touch on before we jump into the diet and how that relates to gut health. So what do you have, LAINI?
So we wanted to talk a little bit about leaky gut and food sensitivities, right? So I know you've probably talked about leaky gut on the show before, because it's a real thing. But if you're talking to your physician, just FYI, it's called intestinal permeability. So a lot of physicians will not don't believe in leaky gut, but they'll call it intestinal permeability. And what that is when we get into the intestine, it's really only a cell thick, right? And so remember that chewing the food part? It's supposed to be broken down so that only single molecules, right, get through this lining as nutrients. But the problem is we eat, sugar, and we drink alcohol, and we don't chew our food very well, and we have toxic exposure. And so our gut lining actually gets damaged, and literally there's like holes in the lining. Like we actually punch little holes or spread open the lining so that larger molecules than should seep through into circulation. Now, when this happens, remember we talked about the immune system being right there? The immune system goes, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what's supposed to be here. And it launches an attack, right? So now we have this immune response and this inflammatory response. And so all of a sudden we have things that trigger like autoimmune conditions and all kinds of food sensitivities and skin rashes and everything else because that gut lining isn't nice and tight.
Yeah. Wow. And ironically, of all of the things that we've discussed on Two Healthy Chicks, we've never discussed leaky gut. So this is definitely a lesson for myself, I'm sure, as well as many of our listeners. Jenny, you may actually have more info on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's been so interesting because this is a big thing with autoimmune diseases. This is a big aspect of it. And so I remember hearing about it and learning about it and reading about it. And yeah, there was a lot of pushback on it. That's not a thing. That's not a real thing. Like, going to GI doctors and stuff, and like that's not brought up. So it's interesting that you say that. So the intestinal permeability, I'm gonna remember that one. I love that.
Yes.
I'm taking some notes here.
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's the thing. Like, our doctors and physicians want to help us, but we have to speak their language.
Yes.
Right. So when you come up with all these alternative medicine terms, they're like, that doesn't exist, or because they're not trained that way.
Yeah.
But what it is the intestines become permeable or leaky, and then things seep through. And we see this a lot with food sensitivities. And typically, all of us grew up and we could eat whatever we want. And then sometime for me, it was in my 30s, but now it's happening to people a lot younger. All of a sudden, they're like, wow, I'm having food sensitivities. I can't process dairy, or gluten's giving me a problem, or maybe corn, or they just seem to get gas and bloating with anything they eat. And that comes back to damaging that intestinal lining and the immune system responding because we haven't respected the system as it's supposed to work.
I wonder where people may have heard things like that. Could it possibly have been on Two Healthy Chicks? Like, we talk about those all the time. Dairy, gluten, younger and younger.
Yes. No, it's so true. Because I learned about most of this in my 30s is when I started this journey. And now I work with people that are so much younger. I have a 22-year-old that has been to the doctor for over a year. She's been going to doctors and GI specialists, still can't poop, and is bloated and is miserable for over a year. I'm like, and they gave her a laxative, not some support to help the bowels stimulate, but a laxative, like something that's pretty dramatic. That's not what you should be seeking.
That's shocking to the system.
Yeah.
It is, right? And it doesn't train the system to work. It forces the system to let go, right?
Yeah, that's just a Band-Aid. That's not addressing the issue. That's unfortunate.
And I think the way that you describe that cycle of food sensitivities and where that comes from is so helpful and super helpful for our listeners, because I know there's so much talk about that. People who are older than I am often say, where did all this come from? We were fine. We never heard about all this. Why are all these issues? And there's multiple reasons to it, but that is a really nice, wrapped in a bow explanation of what is happening. Now, why that happens comes from a lot of different reasons, but this is what is happening and causing this. So I think that's such a great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And the other piece of that is that what we don't realize, because people will say, okay, well, how long do I have to focus on healing my gut? Right. And so I like to give the example of our skincare. How often do you put on moisturizer or lotion, right? Probably daily, maybe multiple times daily, because our skin cells, slough off pretty regularly. Guess what? So does our intestinal lining. It sloughs off more than anything else. So it needs to constantly be given nutrients and nourishing ingredients to repair. And when we don't repair it, then we run the risk of more intestinal permeability, more food sensitivities, more immune response, and all these other chronic conditions that can stem from that.
Ooh, that's another great analogy. Dropping the mic tonight. Nice.
I think that's the perfect segue to diet. The same way you asked, how often do you take care of your skin? By the way, people, the answer is 2. The number is 2. It's in the title. 2 Healthy Chicks to be taking care of your skin at least twice a day. I digress. Diet.
So what can we do to our diet? What are things that we can do to help feed our gut microbiome well?
So I think you kind of brought this up when we talk about, the more mature, older generation saying we didn't have this. Guess what? They had real food. They went to the store. There wasn't an organic session and a process. It was just food. They had food at the store.
There wasn't anything that was mechanically separated.
Right? Yeah. So now when we go to the store, we have to sort through food stuff and fake food and food, right? So it's different, but really starting with food that doesn't have a label, food that has very few ingredients. Shop around the perimeter, get those veggies and fruits, right? Look for the whole foods, look for the clean foods, cook at home, eliminate the sugar, right? Or really reduce it, because we've gotten way too addicted to sugar. I mean, when there's sugar, I don't ever eat Doritos. I would never do that. But when there's sugar in Dorito, you know what I mean? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's sugar in everything. Ayana, did you have Doritos today?
I didn't have them today. However, I am a fan of a Cool Ranch Dorito. I'm just saying. I don't have them often. And for the very...
You failed that test. You didn't know that one was coming.
For the very reason that I know I have very little willpower when it comes to Doritos, I don't buy them. However,
okay, so I'm going to interrupt you right there, just a little totally off topic, but I remember reading an article. I'm not going to tell you where I read it because you're going to make fun of me of where it came from. But they actually came from. And I read this a long time ago. But they do actual research in a lab to see what is going to entice you to eat more, and it hits different places in your palate. And the Doritos have all of that to make you eat more. So keep going on. I just want to explain why you are eating so much of this. So carry on eating your Cool Ranch Doritos. Keep going.
Right.
Exactly. That's why I don't buy them, because when I buy them, nobody's spending $3 on like the regular bag. You got to go to the Price Club and get the family size bag. So there's very little chance that I won't dust the bag off in 2 sittings. So I don't buy them. But
at least it was 2 sittings, not 1.
Exactly. I mean, I have some willpower.
That's impressive.
If I happen to be somewhere where they have Cool Ranch Doritos, I mean, all bets are off. Just saying.
Good to know. Good to know.
Only Cool Ranch. The regular ones, I'm not.
Okay, but here's the thing. The other piece of that, not only is it fake food, but it's got dairy in it. It's got additives in it. It's got preservatives in it. It's got so many things that are damaging to our gut lining and are nutrient deficient. So don't get me wrong. I like a Dorito every now and then, right? I've been known to put a bag of Doritos away, right? But when you learn that, like when you have to research the ingredients that are in a ding dong, and I remember researching that, and I was like, I'm looking up the ingredients, and like 4 of them were stabilizers. And I'm like, if they need 4 stabilizers, these ingredients don't even want to be together, right?
They do not coexist.
They don't play nice.
No, and we're putting it in our body, and then wondering why we have gas, right?
Oh, so true. Like, I remember, that's so funny you say that, because I remember when I had to do research, when I had to go dairy free, and I had no clue. And so like, I remember and we were traveling. So I took like McDonald's and Wendy's and places that are on the rest stops. And I was legit reading everything. And I like the text, I couldn't even, like, the longest words. And I'm like, why is anyone eating this? Like, do we know what's in this? Like, I had the same thought too. I'm like, oh, this is bad. This is very bad.
You're like, shouldn't it just be beef?
I know, right? Potatoes?
No,
like, I don't know what
now
else
you're asking too much.
I know.
Never. So what about eating the rainbow? Because, we hear a lot about that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about eating the rainbow.
So have you heard of, I just forgot her name, so never mind. So anyway, sorry, no, Dr. Terry Walls. Have you heard of Dr. Terry Walls?
No.
Okay, she is brilliant. She actually reversed her MS, her own MS. She had debilitating MS. She was a physician, and she couldn't find any answers in the medical world. And she's like, this is crazy. I'm a doctor. I should be able to figure this out, right? And so she went back and was like, how do I feed my cells? How do I reverse this and get my cells to function? And so she went from being in a wheelchair, pretty much not capable of daily living, to back functioning. She's upright. She lectures all over. Wow. She's amazing. You need to watch her TED Talk. But her recommendation is definitely eating the rainbow, because it feeds the gut bacteria and gives nutrition to your cells. And she goes for like 9 to 11 servings is what she recommends of fruits and vegetables from each of the color, like from
every day,
reds every day, from the reds, from the blue, not 9 of each, but 9.
Oh, okay. That was my next question.
Yeah.
I was like,
no, but of the greens and of the blue purples and of the orange yellows and the reds and the whites, to get all, because there's every different color has different nutrition. So that's why we want the rainbow, right? It's not just that veggies are good. So that's why when everyone's like, eat your greens, eat your greens. Yeah, that's true. But guess what? There's some really cool stuff in purple and red.
Yeah. Yes.
Really cool stuff in purple and red, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's a good place.
We kind of cheat a little bit, but I figured that's better than nothing.
Hey,
in this household, we do love our Be Well superfood greens, but I digress.
No, seriously, and tell us why. Because I have people start there all the time. They're like, should I do a greens powder? I'm like, are you eating 12 servings of vegetables? They're like, and they usually say no. And I say, then yes, add the greens powder. It's easily absorbable. Guess what? You don't have to chew it. Yay!
Right. Yes, exactly.
Right? It's already pre-digested. It's like rocket fuel for your cells. Like you just get to drink it in and absorb it. So yes, there is definitely a place for greens powders in our life. But if we can, we need those vegetables because we need that fiber.
Right.
We need that fiber. So that's the missing component. So we have to get the fiber too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will eat more of my greens. I do pretty well, but I definitely am not eating 12 serving. It's just not happening. I'm going to be honest. Okay, so let's talk about some cool tips and tricks about like optimizing our gut health. And I know we touched on it in the beginning, but let's expand just a little bit on it.
All right. So if we back up, we talked about there's a stress state, where we're running around trying to get things done. And then there's this rest state, which is, we call it the rest and digest state. And if we want our digestive system to work well, which we do because we want to get nutrients to our cells and have energy and balanced hormones and brain that works well, we need to slow down. We need to be sitting down at the table to eat our meals. We, as a culture, have gotten away from that, right? Sitting down with our family, our friends, or by ourselves, it doesn't matter. Sitting down and making each meal a ritual, if you will, like an actual experience. So you can slow down. I know taking a moment to pause before you start to eat, or saying grace, or saying that prayer, or showing that gratitude is a great way to shift from stress to relaxed so that you can turn the digestive system on. And then even, chewing the food, counting the 20 to 30 chews per bite, putting the fork down in between the meals, having conversation, not being, and giving yourself a good 30 minutes. It can be longer. The example I give is, when you go to a really fancy restaurant, right? And you order this meal and you're all excited, it comes and it's about like this big, right? It's like this, and it's like this huge plate with like a sauce on it and a little teeny piece of food. And you sit there and you cut the smallest piece and you chew it and you put your silverware down and you have a conversation and you get to the end and you're like completely satisfied, not overstuffed. You totally have room for dessert and your digestive system worked really well. Like that's how we should be eating all the time.
What a concept, and I just want to go back to your first point, what the first tip that you said, about chewing your food and like being in the relaxed state. It ties in, Jenny, if you remember, 2 guests ago, we were talking about just relaxing and taking time. And no matter what the topic, whether it's gut health or stress or sleep, it's all interconnected. And we have a practice like on the weekends when we're all having meals together. Well, we say grace before every meal, but literally, I said it. Dagnabbit, that was the first time I said it. But I caught myself, Jenny, so you don't get that point. I caught myself.
No, you said it, so it counts. So carry on. Keep going.
It was the first time. Okay, anyway, we will hold hands and it never fails. Sykes and Aaliyah go through this like squeezing hand competition where they try to like break each other's knuckles. And I know it's going on because they forget which hands you're supposed to be squeezing and they're both squeezing. It's really ridiculous. But, little things like that make you just pause and like your body is your brain is telling your gut food is on the way. These idiots right here are squeezing each other's hands. So, it's coming. But yeah, I think that that's interesting. And then chewing your food. I had another thought about that, but who knows what it was. So go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Well, I'll do the chewing the food thing because I remember like I had never heard of that, like chew it like 20 to 30 times, chew one bite 20 to 30 times before. My husband has a coworker that would do that. And it was through that experience of him telling about her that I'd never even heard of that before. I'm like, you're supposed to do that? I'm like, so my kids, we've done it before, like not all the time, just as an experiment, really. Like, how long does that take? Like, oh, that's mush. Like, it's so funny. But I mean, who does that, right? But I mean, I guess if we start normalizing it, and imagine how much better we could possibly feel.
A friend of mine, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we have teeth for a reason.
Yeah.
Like that's why we were born with them. And truly, we're supposed to like break it down to mush before it actually goes to the stomach. Like that's how the system is set up. So when we don't, now the stomach has more stress on it to try to break it down. And it's supposed to be like literally like creamed soup, by the time it gets to the small intestine. But if we haven't chewed it here, then the stomach gets overworked there. And then the intestine's like, what? And then we get right into that leaky gut situation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what I was going to say. One of my friends, shout out Karen, she said something that was intriguing to me. It was something like we're trying to come up with sayings for children for the summer program. And it was drink your food and chew your liquids. And I had never heard that. And you're laughing, so I know you've heard it. But essentially, it means that you should be chewing your food to almost a liquid consistency, at least to mashed potatoes, at least.
Yeah.
And your liquid, you should chew just to signal the gut that something is coming. So I thought that was very intriguing.
I've never
I remembered my question. So I know you had a question last week, LAINI. You were talking about, when families sit down and you have conversation. What if you live alone? For any of our listeners that are home alone, you watch television while you eat, or, those are the things that you do. Any tips for people who are eating meals alone?
So music is a nice alternative there, right? Because music triggers a different response than watching TV because we've got the blue light and all of those things. So music is a good option. And then that's just in general as a society, being okay with being alone with ourselves, not having that need to be constantly, entertained or whatever. And that's where a lot of our digestive issues stem from, is that we're always on the go and we always need to be stimulated and we always need to be this. So it's a practice in really sitting down and slowing down. And I was just going to sidebar real quickly. The other part about chewing the food thoroughly is that it takes 15 to 20 minutes for your stomach to let your brain know that you're full. So if you gulp your meal down in 5 minutes, you can always eat more. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So okay, I know that first time that I did that, I was like, okay, I was eating green beans. You know how hard it is to chew green beans? I'm eating my green beans.
Them tonight.
Literally. And I was like 15 minutes later, my plate was not empty and I was full. So when we're talking about, weight concerns and obesity as an epidemic, oh gosh, if we really just talked about how to digest food and change that, we could change a lot.
That is so intriguing. I knew it took time. That's why people say you eat slower. And obviously there are way more reasons to eat slower.
Right.
But I've always heard prior to learning about gut health that, you eat slowly, you'll get full quicker. But there was never that connection. And 15 to 20 minutes, if you think about it, that's a long time. A long time in our society, because just like I said, we're always on the go. We eat our meals in 10 minutes, especially if we're not at the table. So that is very intriguing. And yes, it will be available in the Facebook group. Don't you worry.
And I love that all of the things that you said are all just take us back, at least for me personally, the way I grew up. These are all things that were part of society that we just naturally did. And it's just and it's just so interesting. The more things like this and research that I do and things that we learn, it's just confirming the things that we have been doing, at least the way we were brought up, that there's a lot of medical, good, insightful reasons for those. Little did we know that, but just all the things that you said, I'm like, we did all that. Who knew we were helping our digestive health?
So I have a quick question for you, because while I was eating tonight, I was like, ooh, would Lainey be proud of me? So I did not watch television as bad as I wanted to. I wanted, because that's like my brain release after I'm working. If I can just zone out and do nothing. But I was like, nope, Lainey said don't watch TV while eating. So I did a puzzle. How'd I do?
Good. Good, because
Score.
it's that different relaxed state, right? We're training the brain in a different way. You're thinking a different, and because that comes back to meditation. When you're doing a puzzle, you're not thinking about anything else.
No.
You're not thinking about the to-do list.
Which place does this puzzle piece go? What glue is that?
Exactly.
So we've had so much fun. We're going to wrap things up a little bit differently tonight, because we're going to keep our guests with us while we talk about the APOD. Again, we haven't gotten a theme, so we made our own theme for the APOD. Go for it, Jenny.
All right. So tonight's APOD is the Clean Tox Gentle Cleanse. And this is just amazing. It helps detoxify by cleansing the system with 3 key ingredients that are supporting the gastrointestinal tract.
Those 3 ingredients are ginger, which helps support normal digestion, glutamine, which helps support gastrointestinal health, and choline, which contributes to normal liver function.
And so the Clean Tox Gentle Cleanse assists with gentle elimination of toxins, while aloe helps soothe the digestive tract. I think that'll make a lot more sense, has come alive from our conversation tonight. It also supports healthy bowel movements, helping to remove toxins from the body when paired with gut health prebiotic fiber. Again, something that we talked about tonight. Also pair it with the Clean Tox Herbal Detox Tea, so that you can support the liver and the kidneys and the body's, which are the body's key detoxification organs. And it is gentle enough for daily use, and it tastes really good too.
Oh my goodness, it does. And I will give this little disclaimer, that we always have to give. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
True.
We all know how I feel about that. All right. So.
But it is really good. It's a great product. Like, Ayana sent it to me and I was like, I'm all over it. So here's the big one that we need to realize, though, when we're talking about that leaky gut. One of the main ingredients that's a superpower for healing the gut is glutamine. And this cleanse has 1,600 milligrams. And that's a therapeutic dose to help heal up that leaky gut. So if you're doing that, that is amazing. And there's magnesium in it, which helps regulate the bowels and relax the system. So it's truly a really great product. Like,
2 healthy chicks. I mean, we are always here for you, no matter which way.
3 healthy chicks tonight.
Listen.
Yes.
Okay, so we are so running out of time, because we just always have so much fun. But we have a Facebook group. It's called 2 Healthy Chicks, the number 2. If you don't know that by now, you got to listen to more episodes, people. Chicks, just like our name. It is a VIP group, and your mission, should you choose to accept, twofold. 1, do you dare tell us how many times a day you poop? And don't worry, your responses will remain anonymous, not to us, but to the rest of the group. And number 2, what will you change immediately to improve your gut health? And, you can always reach out to Jenny and I if you need some of this gentle cleanse. Just saying. Saying.
You can do that.
All right. Lainey, I am so very grateful that you joined us today. Gut health, like, we could talk about this probably for 5 more episodes, but I think you did a great job of scraping the surface and giving some good nuggets of info. So please remind us again and remind our guests what services you offer.
So as a health coach, I help my clients get functional lab testing so we can investigate what's going on in your hormones, in your digestive health, in your immune system. And so if you have anything from brain fog to skin conditions to PMS, I am your girl. I am your health detective. If you want somebody to look into that, come talk to me.
Awesome. And how can they get in contact with you?
So my website is www.graystarhealth, like gray the color, graystarhealth.com. I also have Instagram. My handle is at LAINI.gray. My clubhouse is at LAINI Gray. And what else? What else? My email, LAINI@Graystar Health. There's all kinds of ways. You'll have that in the show notes, right?
I know, right? But it
Yes.
will be
Yes,
in
it will be
the
in the
show
show
when you watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
Hint,
Yeah.
hint. In case we haven't, plugged that enough, you need to watch. Like, you just got to watch.
Yes.
All righty. So, and I know one last thing, Lainey, you have a clubhouse room that is actually all about gut health.
I do. So on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have a room talking about Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life, where we're breaking down the different parts of the digestive system and how that affects your overall health with some tips and tricks and lots of information. So join us over there. And on Instagram, you can get in my link in bio, and there is a free gut health guide if you want to hear some of the things we talked about today in a little more detail. So there you go.
And we'll have all your information in our Facebook post as well. So,
all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our episode. We hope that you had half as much fun as we did. Because, I mean, if you did, then you're having a great day, evening, afternoon, whatever. So make sure you stay tuned. Jenny, any nuggets?
It was awesome. Thank you.
Did you just say nuggets? Did you just say nuggets?
I did say nuggets, not chicken nuggets.
I know.
Your random fact, Jenny. We're just going to hold
we're doing, okay. I missed it. Okay. So, we are going way over. All right. So my random fact is about the things I like to read when I was in high school, college, young adult. I love John Grisham and Robin Cook. I thought their books were just fascinating, especially Robin Cook with the scientific, like, just crazy stuff. Very, very good.
My random fact is not far off from that. I am a fan of the ID channel. However, I do limit my intake because I notice that sometimes it starts to affect my outlook on life. So I give myself like 3 months at a time that I can watch the ID channel, and then I can't watch for 3 or 4 months because I start to notice things. It's very bizarre. Anyway, everyone, we thank you for joining us. Again, hope you had a ton of fun. I'm Ayana.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are two healthy chicks providing simple life hacks on this journey to healthy living. Have a wonderful whatever you're having.
Bye.